and welcome to the Knitting Plot podcast. My name is Natalie, or Nats. This is my channel where I'm going to talk mainly about knitting, but also more and more nowadays crochet. I also occasionally will update you on how I'm getting on with cross-stitch projects and anything else crafty, to be honest with you, that I might be getting into. So if that sounds like something that you would like to watch, then please stick around. There is a little subscribe button that will help you stay in the loop of any videos that I put out there, so feel free to click that, like and comment away to your heart's content. But while you're with me now, grab a project, get cozy. I've got a very nice cup of Bird and Blend tea called Deck Chair Dozing, which is apple and chamomile, and probably means that I'm going to nod off halfway through filming this, but it's absolutely delicious. 10 out of 10 recommend. So grab a drink, get cozy, and we'll get cracking. So it's been a little while since I did a traditional podcast setup, probably over a month now. I did put out a vlog, my first ever attempt at a vlog for a little cuddly toy project that I worked on for a friend, so that will be probably linked somewhere below if you want to go and check that out. But that was a lot of fun. But my first attempt at vlogging, and it was a very different experience to sitting down and doing this, particularly the editing process. So that was fun, something new for me to try. But I do have a lot to update you on in terms of everything else I've been working on, so I thought, why not sit down and get another one of these traditional podcasts out sooner rather than later. Probably the first thing to talk to you about is what I'm wearing. So this is my Winnie top, and this, if you watched the last standard format podcast, was on my wish list of things that I wanted to do, and I wasn't entirely sure whether or not I would get time, but I made time, and I'm really happy that I did. So this is the Winnie top by Lily Kate France, and I've made it out of King Cole cotton bamboo in navy, and it's this lovely, I don't know whether you'd call it sleeveless or kind of like almost like a cap sleeve vest with this beautiful lace detailing that you actually do separately and then add on to the garment once you've knitted the bulk of the garment. It's really pretty. I love the colour, really love the colour. I really love this layering kind of effect as well, with like a vest top, cami top underneath, and just the bottom of the cami top poking out underneath. I'll come a bit closer so you can kind of see the lace detailing, but the lace detailing goes all the way around the neckline, all the way around the arms, but then also, and I did not know this when I purchased the pattern, I don't know why I hadn't spotted it, maybe from her images, but it's also got lace detailing which will be highlighted beautifully because of the white top underneath, all from the underarm down to the bottom. And this was just like a little Brucey bonus surprise from my perspective. I was really pleased when I started making it. I was wondering what am I doing here, and then when I saw what it's turning into, I was really happy about it. So it's a really lovely pattern to follow, really simple and easy to understand. She writes her patterns in a really nice way, so as a result, it was really quick. I'd have to check my Ravelry to see how long it actually took me to make this, but it did seem to come together really, really quickly. It's just a really lovely pattern to make up. She writes a really, really easy to understand pattern, and it's had a lot of wear already because we're in that strange kind of part of the year where it's not properly autumn yet here in the UK. On average, temperatures are probably around about the sort of 17 to 20 degrees Celsius, so it's quite warm out, but you're just getting to that point where you want an additional layer perhaps. So this has been perfect for this time of year, so it's already had a lot of wear. It's great for work because it looks just a little more or a little less casual. So on days where I've been in the office, I've been able to throw this on and feel pretty put together, to be honest with you. And it's probably covered in cat fur today, because I did wear it over to my friend's house last night, and she is fostering a new kitten. Well, not kitten, a cat. He's a grown cat. Called Merlin, and he's adorable. I'll put some photos in, but he was giving me some major snuggles when we were around there yesterday, and therefore it's probably got a lot of Merlin on it. But yeah, really happy with this. My first finished object, and I say first because I've got a few. So let me take you to my next one. My next finished object I'm incredibly excited about, and hopefully you're all pleased to see this as well, is my Brooklyn Raglan. So this is my first wearable sweater. That was my aim when I started this channel earlier in the year. I wanted to really document my progress with regards to knitting my first sweater that I would be proud to wear. So I knew that I would make mistakes, but if I made mistakes, I was going to do my best to go back and fix them. I wanted it to be something that was classic in its styling. I wanted it to be something that I'd knitted well enough that it didn't look... I wanted it to look handmade, because I wanted to be able to say, yeah, I made this, but I wanted it to be elevated compared to perhaps some other attempts that I'd made at sweaters in the past. And I do think I have achieved it with this. So the pattern is by Tori Yu. It's the Brooklyn Raglan, and it's a basic raglan construction. It does have a curved hem along the bottom. I don't know whether that will show particularly well, but there is a curved hem, and it has this broken moss stitch or broken seed stitch, maybe, depending on where you're from as to what you call it, on the arms, and that's a really lovely texture. So again, it's that sort of slightly elevated on what would otherwise be quite a plain raglan jumper. I love the neckline on it. The neckline grew, and I did anticipate it would grow, but actually this is a really flattering neckline for me. A wider neckline is better, because I'm quite a busty girl. Sometimes I think with something that's too crew neck, that can actually make my bust look even bigger. So to avoid that, a wider neckline, a boat neck, always works well for me as well, but it's just very comfortable. Now, I made this out of Drops Merino Extra Fine, and I heard a lot about this being a very pilly fabric, and it is my first wearable sweater, so I have been wearing it, and there are definitely instances where I'm seeing the pilling start to occur along the sides, obviously, where your arms will rub and what have you. You can't see it quite so heavily in the textured fabric, but I am starting to see little pills, but nothing major at this stage. It's only had a couple of wears, but nothing major. What the fabric did do, sort of in the process of knitting it, though, to be honest, was it does show increases and woven in ends a little bit more than some other fabrics, because I think it's just that fine nature of the yarn. But again, I'm fine with that because it's handmade, so I'm going to expect some little things like that to show where perhaps they are. And I think I've got like little pawns on it already, but I think I'll be able to use my defuzzer to get rid of the bulk of the pills, and we might find after a period of time it does all the pilling it's going to do and doesn't do any more, and that's happy days. Or I might be constantly defuzzing this, but I don't care because I love it. I absolutely love it. It is not at all itchy, not even in the slightest bit itchy. It's super soft and comfortable to wear. I don't think I am massively susceptible to itchiness. I feel it a bit with mohair, but it wouldn't stop me having mohair in a hat, for instance, being on my head. I might try and avoid mohair perhaps around my neck if something was close fitting here. but then I might not, to be honest with you. I'm very tempted for a future plan to try a Surrey alpaca fluff as opposed to a mohair to see if there's any difference in comfort levels for that for me, but like I said, I'm not overly sensitive anyway. So what didn't go well? Initially I stuffed up the pattern in the pattern repeat in the arms, and I ripped that back and did it again, and that was definitely the right choice. For some reason my cuffs are slightly different. I think I've done one extra row on one, but it's not noticeable when I'm wearing it. It looks more noticeable in the hand here, but when I'm wearing it, they don't look that different. So obviously my arm stretching them out, my wrist stretching them out makes that look a little bit smaller. But again, I'm fine with that. It's one row, I've counted it, and it's just one row different, and I can live with that. But otherwise, the fit of it's lovely. The short row shaping at the back is the perfect amount for my body. Under the arms, it fits really nicely as well. There's no bunching, there's no gathering, there's no gaping either. So I'm just really happy with it, and it's going to get a lot of wear this autumn and winter period. Again, it's another one that works really well from a layering perspective. I'm just really, really happy with it, and it's just given me that buzz to do more on the jumper front or sweater front, depending on where you're from. And yeah, so that is definitely on my plans for the next year. There's going to be, I've always traditionally done a lot of accessories, and therefore I've done a lot of gifting, because there's only so many scarves or socks or things like that you might need as a person, so I tend to gift a lot of them. But I think next year I'm going to be a little bit more selfish, because the back of it, I think I've got the jumper bug, so I'm going to indulge that next year for sure. So there we go, that's my Brooklyn Raglan. Now, I was also at the last count working on some socks for my nephew, which I have now finished, but I'm not giving these to him because I don't really like them. And I know it's not supposed to be about me, it's supposed to be about him, but I don't know why I don't like them from a gifting perspective. There's nothing massively offensive about them. I have messed up a little bit. Again, you might notice there is a one row difference in the amount of orange stripes, so these ones have thinner orange stripes. I also, on this one, I remembered to do the jogless stripe, not that you can really tell, whereas on this one I didn't. They just look a bit too clunky, and yeah, I'm not that thrilled with them, and I think they just don't seem very him either. So I had bought some when I went to the Summer Wool Festival. When I did my last podcast, I bought some new yarn to do some socks for him. But he's not going to get socks because I've changed my mind again, and I reserve the right to do that regularly. But there is one item that I've knitted for him that his mum tells me he's absolutely obsessed with, which is I did an Oslo hat for him in like a navy blue colour. Blues are very much his colour. And he will not take the thing off, and I think his mum's getting a little bit concerned. It does need washing now, and he needs to give it up. So I'm going to use the yarn that I got him at the Summer Wool Festival to make him another hat, and I'm thinking it might be a Musselburgh hat, which will also be a really good project. I'm going on a cruise at the end of October, and I need a project to take with me, and I think that's just a great stockinette in the round. I can do it anywhere on the ship that I happen to be sat down without needing to have a pattern in front of me. I've done a couple of Musselburghs, 3 Musselburghs already, so once I'm started and I'm flying with it, it's just stockinette in the round, and it will give him the kind of beanie hat that he enjoys as well. So that's what I'm going to be using his yarn for, and I'll be casting on for that in the next couple of weeks, because it's now middle of September, so it's not that long until I go on my cruise. So right, little brew, bear with. So that's what I'm going to be using that yarn for, and he's less likely to grow out of a hat than a pair of socks. Kids, you know, they grow quickly, and boys in particular, their feet, you know, luckily at the moment he's the same size as me, so those socks will just go into my, you know, keeping my feet toasty during the winter months when I'm sat here in the office. Pool of socks that I've got. But yeah, they didn't seem right for him, so I'm pleased with the decision I've made to do the muscle burr instead. My last finished object, again, on the last podcast I was talking to you about yarn choices, and I'd got this mystery yarn, this sort of silver sparkly glittery yarn that I wanted to use to make a bean and olive sweater for my niece. Now that sweater is something that I've wanted to make for a long time. The size range, my niece now will be in the last size, so it was kind of a case of do it now, but so that she gets somewhere out of it, otherwise she's got to the point where she's too big, and I didn't want to buy the grown-up version of that pattern because I'd already got the child one. So I wanted to make that for her. She had said that she liked rainbow colours, so I was playing with yarns that incorporated rainbows to go into the colour work, and nothing seemed to be working. And actually, the more swatches I knitted up, the more I hated that silvery glittery yarn. And initially, like, it was hard on my hands to knit with, but it felt like it would be okay on skin. But the more I worked with it and the more swatches I knitted up, the more I realised that actually that was quite an itchy yarn, quite not itchy but scratchy, because it had got the sequins in and because it had got this sort of lurexy thread kind of thing going through it. It was quite scratchy, and it wasn't just my hands that it was going to impact. So I didn't think it was the right yarn for her. I didn't want to make her a jumper that was definitely going to irritate her and she wouldn't want to wear. So I went to my local yarn shop because so Helen at my local yarn shop, Wool and Crafts, she stocks Sirdar, and I'd been looking for an easy to maintain yarn that I could use instead of the one that I'd been planning. And Sirdar have their Loveful range, which is recycled wool, recycled polyester and recycled acrylic mix. There is quite a hefty wool content. I think it's about 30%. I could be wrong on that though, so I will put on the screen what it actually is. But so that would give it more of a sort of comfort factor, I think. But what was really intriguing me was the tweed, because I'd seen on the birch colourway, when I'd looked on the website, the birch colourway had rainbow tweed flecks. And I thought, actually, with all the problems I've been having trying to get like a rainbow stripe into the colourwork and for it to look right, I could just ignore that and I could do a solid colour for the colourwork, but have the rainbow in the tweed flecks. The tweed flecks. Wow. Something's just short-wired there, short-circuited. Words, who needs them, right? Anyway, here I am with my niece's bean and olive sweater, and the colourwork I've done in Heather is the colourway, and the main colour is the birch. It's the birch. So let me bring this closer so you can see the tweed flecks in there. So hopefully you can see all of the different colours in there. There's blues, there's pinks, there's oranges, there's yellows. They're all in there, and this is a really, really lovely yarn. It feels lovely and soft. I think she'll be more than comfortable wearing this. It's my first colourwork sweater, and even though it's not in a grown-up size, this counts if you ask me. It's my first circular yoke, and I think it's adorable. I would wear this myself. So now I'm thinking maybe I should buy the grown-up size pattern. But again, you know, kids' clothes, they work up really quickly, so this was very satisfying. I can show you the inside so you can have a look at my float situation, because I think it looks quite neat. So that's the inside. I can make out what the pattern should be, and I don't think any of those floats are so long that she'll get hands caught in them. I know kids have got littler fingers, but I think they're all, she'll be fine. So again, I was really pleased with this. I was pleased because of the way the pattern was written as well. So I've done Andrea Mowry's patterns for cowls, a couple of different cowls, but you know, they're fairly straightforward in terms of instructions. And because I want to make the framed sweater, that's on my list of things that I want to make at the moment. That's kind of been pushed back because of other projects. I had wanted to make it this summer, but it's not going to happen this summer now, but I'm hoping it will be for autumn. But it's nice to see how a pattern is written for something like a jumper as to how well you'll understand it. So I was really pleased with that. But just generally, I'm pleased with how this is knitted up as a circular yoke and as a colourwork jumper. I'm really pleased with it, and I think she's going to really like it. So the only challenge that I really had with this was yarn related, despite the fact that I think it's made a beautiful fabric and I think it's so soft. She's going to enjoy wearing this. It's not itchy in the slightest. It was hard on my hands, and I think it might be because of those tweed flecks. It just was grippy in places, so you'd be knitting away quite comfortably, and then the next thing you knew, you're trying to put your needle into the stitch and struggling. And I got a bit of like sort of hand and wrist strain through making this project, and it wasn't because I was knitting any more than I usually do. It just, yeah, I think where a tweed fleck was in a stitch, you know, occasionally at a certain very specific point, I'd put my needle in and just get resistance, and it happened regularly enough that that became a little bit challenging and a bit tiring. So I did have to give my hands regular breaks on that one. But I think it's worth it for the fabric. I just think it's so pretty, and those tweed flecks as well, I'll bring them in. They're all over the place. So do you know what I mean? There's really good coverage of rainbow colour, which hopefully my niece will really appreciate. So again, you know, not a massive project, but another jumper. I've got the bug for jumpers, and I'm really pleased that one is done. That is going into her Christmas box. I have a lot of the yarn left. So I bought two, yeah, I must have done. I bought, yeah, two of the birch colourway and one of the heather colourway. So I've got a lot of the birch left over, and I've got a huge amount of the heather left over. It really didn't take much at all. But this is screaming winter hat to match the jumper, maybe with a little pom-pom. So that will definitely get used. That, in all fairness, I could potentially use in my crochet blanket as well. They're the right weight of yarn for me to use in that blanket if I wanted to, and that might be a good one for that. And then, yeah, winter hat out of that one, because there's more than enough yarn to do a winter hat, so it won't get wasted at all. And I might be happier crocheting with the tweed, with the fleety twacks, as opposed to knitting, because that was a little bit tough in places. But that, I'm just thinking, that is all of my finished objects. I think that's quite enough finished objects, really, for what, a month? I think that's pretty good going. So let me talk to you about my works in progress. So the first one is a sock, and this was with some yarn that I purchased when I was away in Lincolnshire, and I can't remember for the life of me what it's called, but I will put it on the screen. And it's a self-patterning yarn, not just a self-striping yarn, but a self-patterning. I'll bring that a little bit closer so you can have a look at the patterning on it. Now I am doing this on 9-inch circulars, which isn't my preferred, but I'm doing something a bit different because I don't know really who these are going to be for. So I'm just knitting some really long tubes, which I will then put an afterthought heel in and a toe on, and I'll do a contrast. I think I'll do black for the toe and the afterthought heel, because I've got a lot of that left over from the black and neon orange socks. So because it's just going round and round and round, I thought I'd do them on the 9-inch circulars. They're big 9-inch circulars. So these are 2.75mm circulars. Not that makes a massive like chunky fabric or anything like that, but the yarn itself is a little bit thicker than what I'm used to with things like the West Yorkshire Spinners Signature 4-ply, just ever so slightly thicker. It is a sock yarn, but it works well with these 2.75. Now these are going to be for a guy, definitely, and they're going to be a slouchy sock for a guy as well, but I just don't know which guy. So I'm just making them really long because men have bigger feet, and my aim is that when I've got, so it was 100 gram skein, once I've got 50 grams of it left, I'll put a toe on this and start another one, and then they can either be a really tall sock for somebody with a little foot, or they could be an ankle sock for somebody with an enormous foot. We'll see how much that gives me from that 100 grams, but it's quite a rustic sock yarn, I'll be honest with you. I think it will probably soften up once it's been washed, so I'll probably like block it when I'm done with it. So it doesn't feel as nice as the West Yorkshire Spinners Signature 4-ply that I usually use, but it was a new to me brand, and I think it will make quite a hardy sock, which is good if you're going to be wearing it out and about. So that's my first work in progress. The next one is a surprise work in progress. It wasn't something that I talked about doing, but I found out that one of my colleagues is having a baby, and I don't work in the same location as her, and therefore hadn't seen her for quite a while, so I didn't even know that she was having a baby. And she does subscribe to this channel, so this may ruin a surprise. I don't know whether she watches regularly or whether she watches this far into them, but I'm making her a little gift. She does know that I'm going to be making something for the baby though, and she's just gone on maternity leave, so baby is due imminently, and she is having a little boy, so that's very exciting, and she has announced that. So I'm making her a little baby bear bonnet, and this is how far I am with this so far, and you can probably see it better from this side. I've got to the point where I've done short rows to create the ears. I'm now getting to the point where I'm going to the ear shaping, and sorry, it's not the baby bear bonnet at all, it's the baby bear balaclava, which is infinitely cuter. I will put pictures up on the screen so you can see what it's supposed to look like, but this, yeah, I mean, it's tiny, it's adorable. I'm doing it in the West Yorkshire Spinners Bo Peep in Safari Park. There we go. And it is 52% Falkland wool, 48% nylon, and you get 112 meters or 122 yards to a 50 gram ball. It's luxury baby, they call it, I think, because it's very, very soft. It's a DK weight, it's incredibly soft, and I just thought it would be perfect for, I'm doing the 6 to 12 month size because, I don't know, a balaclava doesn't seem like something you'd want to put on a newborn baby. but they'll still be in the 6-month kind of range, sort of springtime, so it could be a good one for spring. The pattern is by Pernille Larsen, and it's written where the ribbing that goes around the face would be in one yarn, but then the rest of the balaclava you hold a strand of mohair with it. And I've decided not to do that. I think if it was my baby, I could make that choice too if I thought it was right, but I'm not sure how some people would feel about mohair on a young baby's garments, because obviously you get flyaway fibres and what have you. That could be very irritating. Even if it was like a Suri alpaca, which is supposed to be a bit softer and a bit less scratchy as well. I don't know whether or not that would be something that this particular person would want for their baby. So I have omitted it and just gone with a very, very soft yarn instead. Natural fibres still, and in a nice, sort of neutral, should be able to go with pretty much everything colourway. It's the first time I've used Bo Peep. I bought this Bo Peep a while back with a view for doing something for my youngest nephew, and I may well do the balaclava for him as well because it's just so cute. But wanted to get this one started because the baby is imminent, and I am heading over to her location for work later in or early in October, so I figured I could take it and one of her team could pass it over to her when I do that. So that's my current knitting whip. But I do also have some crochet that I'm working on, and brace yourself because I've got some stuff to show you. Now, this project was, my mum basically asked me if I could help make a gilet that her and my stepdad's niece saw this knitted loop stitch gilet in a boutique store, obviously handmade, beautiful, quite expensive, and the request was made, could you do something similar? And I said that I could, but as she wants it for Christmas, I certainly couldn't knit it by Christmas, because as we found out if you watched my vlog, my last video, a little bit of loop stitch knitting is already very fiddly, so it would take too long basically to have for Christmas. But I could crochet it, because crocheting loop stitch, different process, not as fiddly, sorry for the noise, not as fiddly. I could do it in that time scale. And this was a multicoloured, all pastel loop stitch, very basic construction gilet that she wanted. Now I started this, and this is my first sort of attempt, and I've kept it as is to show you. So the striping, if I can show you the other end, the striping will be much less blocky and more sort of like random. This already is random. You can see the number of loop stitches, number of rows differs for each colourway that I've got on here at the moment. But I abandoned this one quite early on because although the pattern that I'm using, or that I was basing this on, was a free pattern on Hobie's website called the Lydia Loop Stitch Gilet. And it recommends using 2 strands of yarn together, but what that makes is an incredible, this feels like a bath mat, and that's not something that anybody wants to wear. It looks like a bath mat too. It's very cute, and I would absolutely keep doing it for like a rug or something like that in a kid's bedroom. I think it's adorable for that, and it has given me ideas of things that I can do homeware wise. But it's not what it was supposed to be. So I've abandoned that, and I started playing with doing just 1 strand of yarn. Okay, so here we are with 1 strand of yarn, And again, I mean, that was definitely better. There's more flexibility in it. Let me hide myself so I can focus on it. There's definitely more flexibility on it. It's not as dense. Obviously it doesn't look as dense with loops because you've only got the, you know, sort of the one loop being created in each stitch. And that definitely, the lighting situation's gone a bit weird, so apologies. That definitely has created something different. But then I thought, you know what, let's have a bit more of a play around with this, because it's still quite structured, and I know what my mum was looking for was you know, something as close as possible to the knitted fabric, which was obviously very loose. With the loop stitch on a knitted fabric, you create quite big gaps in the fabric, and that makes it more fluid and more movable. So I then started playing with using double crochets as opposed to single crochets here. And that, I think, is the right thing to do. So there's a lot more flex in that fabric than there is even just a bit further down here. It does create visually quite a gap, but I think that will just be part of the nature of the garment and the overall style of the garment, to be honest with you. But it's still got these lovely loops that are all kind of like blurring that whole, but it will feel much less structured than even this single crochet with one bit of yarn. So all of this is going to get ripped back, so I'm not wasting any of the yarn, and I'm going to have a lot of fun playing with the colour to make it just quite, yeah, random and jazzy and what have you. She wanted all of these pastel colours, so these are all, I'll show you the inside of my bag, because obviously initially I wound them up into 2 balls so I could hold 2 together, but these are all Yarn Smiths, apart from one was a James C. Brett, but 100% premium acrylic, so she'd wanted acrylic so that it was easy to wash, and that's where I am with it. It's just been a lot of playing around and, yeah, trying to get the right fabric so far. That's a very satisfying noise. I know some people don't. I was watching Mark Vogel the other morning talking about project bags, and he mentioned in there that some people don't like zips on project bags because obviously you can get yarn caught in them. I do like a zip on a project bag, and for me I'm just like, well, I just make sure that I've shoved everything down, and as I'm closing it I run my finger on the underside to make sure I'm not picking anything up without realising, because one, I like the sound of a zip, but two, everything's then contained, isn't it? Anyway, I digress. That is my current crochet project. Now I have also got another project, crochet project, which is a granny stripe blanket. It's a scrappy blanket. I do have it here actually. So this is a scrappy granny stripe project, blanket project that I decided to start doing because I really enjoyed the dog blanket that I'd made for Dennis, and I've got a lot of acrylic yarn that needs something doing with it. So I've started making my own blanket, my own stripy blanket, using all of these different yarns. Do you know what? I never worry about accidentally undoing crochet because it just it doesn't unravel like knitting, does it? But this is where I am. I think I cast on chained. I don't know whether you cast on with crochet. I think it was about 300, and I'm just it's a mixture of probably Aran weight and DK yarn, so there are some slightly thicker bits. I've got like a 4-ply, this turquoisey one, or like minty green one. That's 2 strands of a 4-ply, like sort of light not fingering weight, a little bit of sport weight, maybe that's what we call it, I'm not sure. But that's 2 held together, so that one's a little bit chunky. I've got some, you know, some of the white scraps from what was left over of my hot water bottle, and then I've got some that are just DK. This is just a DK weight grey that's going in, and I'm trying to keep the colour scheme relatively cohesive, because it will get repeated along, because I've literally got full balls of some of these, and I've got absolutely loads, but they're all going in quite nicely, and it makes me realise that obviously I have fairly muted colour tastes in terms of stuff that I've purchased myself. So it's kind of cohesive. But I was having fun with that. It's been put away now because the gilet will take precedent from a crochet project perspective. But yeah, before I was just enjoying that of an evening, just doing a few rows. It's not so massive that it takes ages to do a full row, and it's just 2 repeats for each colour that I'm doing. Some of them are colour changing, so that adds a bit of something different to it, but it's, yeah, I've been enjoying doing it, and I will continue enjoying doing it once the gilet has been done and completed. But that's like a long-term project, isn't it? So I'm not going to suddenly be expecting that blanket to be finished. That could take until this time next year for all I know. I think that is all of my works in progress. But I do have plans, obviously. But I'm not going to share them now. I'll do that as a separate autumn plans video. But still up there is my framed sweater. I'm desperate to get my framed sweater started. So I need to be working towards that. And there are still various different gifts that I need to get knitted as well. Stuff for Christmas, because I want December to be a me month. That's what I'm really keen for. I've purchased an advent. I want to be using my advent or working on a project that is all about me and not stressing about doing last minute Christmas gift knitting. That's been my aim all along. So I want to get it all done and dusted now, ready for them. And then my brother, right? I love my brother. I love all of my brothers. This one in particular, though, always has always made me laugh, because he's just so random. But he messaged me today with a picture that basically said, "You have to make this for me." And hopefully this will show on the screen. You might get a bit of reflection from outside. But it's like a crochet octopus man. There's a character. All right, I know there's a character. I don't know how to pronounce this character. It's like Cthulhu or something like that. This is a grown-ass man. I don't know why he needs an octopus man face, creature from the deep, full face balaclava, but that's what he wants. And so that is what I'm going to make him, because I love him. And if he asks me for anything, he could have it. So I need to find some appropriate yarn for that, and that will have to get added in to my plans at some point. He does know that it's not going to be at the top of my list of priorities to make him that, so, and he's fine with that. He'll just be happy when he gets it. But in terms of other plans, there is a lot of things that I want to get done. Like I say, I've definitely got the sweater bug now, but there's also a cardigan that I'm desperate to make and have been for quite some time. But I just need to choose my yarn for it. So that's the thing that needs to happen. In terms of life updates, I hurt my knee quite badly the other week. I sprained the cruciate ligament in my knee, which has meant I haven't been able to get down to my allotment plot because it's been too painful. But I did manage to get down yesterday. I messaged one of the other plot holders, and she told me that my tomatoes definitely needed to be harvested because they were out of control. So I hobbled down there yesterday to harvest those and some carrots, and actually I was quite pleased. I thought the whole place was going to be overgrown, because you go on holiday for a week and the weeds, in particular down on our allotment, we get a lot of bindweed and creeping buttercup. So I was anticipating worst case scenario, the whole place was just going to be overtaken with bindweed. But it wasn't too bad, actually. Definitely some clear up needed, and my nasturtiums had crept, miles from their allotted bed as well. So there was a lot of clearing up to do, and I wasn't going to be able to do that because my knee still isn't in a fit state for me to be doing that. But I was able to go and harvest my tomatoes, so I've got a lot of tomatoes that will probably make a tiny little bit of sauce. They always seem, I've got like a whole trug full of them, but it always seems like a lot, and then when you actually try to make something out of it, it doesn't go as far as you'd think. So I've tasked Steve with making a nice passata or something from the tomatoes before they go bad, so fingers crossed he'll get on that at some point over the next day or so. But I do need to start thinking. I've been just out of action, really. Stuff that I wanted to get sown so that it could grow over the winter, I haven't done. I don't think I'm too late to put my garlic in and my onions yet. I might be too late, but it's been so warm. I think I'll be okay, and it's not predicted to get super cold anytime soon, and that's a relatively easy, if I can prepare the bed quite well in my current state. It's not that difficult just to sow some onions and some garlic. So that's on my list of things to do down at the knitting plot. Something else I can update you on is I regularly go to the recommended section on YouTube to see if there's anybody that I vibe with, that I might want to have a watch of. And there's been a couple of new YouTubers who I've really enjoyed their content, and I just wanted to give them a shout out, really. If you haven't discovered them yet, you should definitely go and check them out. The first one is Knitting Forecast. So I really enjoy this podcast. I think she's got a lovely style. She's very natural in front of the camera, but she's also, the projects that she's making, she's got a really great eye for detail. And what brought her to my attention was she was recommended by a hand knit letter. It's a British YouTuber, which is always great to see as well. But she was making a fishy sweater, and this fishy sweater got me. I don't know whether I would wear a sweater with fishes on myself personally, but it was what she'd done. Her eye for detail was excellent. So one of these fishes was coloured differently and vastly differently to the rest of the colourwork sweater. I won't spoil it, but she took the detail from that one fish and incorporated it in a really unusual place elsewhere on the sweater. And when I saw it, my initial thought was that doesn't look like handmade. That looks too good to be handmade. And if somebody had added that design detail into a machine knitted top, it wouldn't have surprised me. But seeing it in a hand knitted garment, I was like, clever, just clever, and not something I would ever think to do. But it was a brilliant use, and I don't know whether she did it because she was playing yarn chicken and she just kind of thought that will still work, but it really stood out to me. But I'm not going to spoil it. Go back and have a look at her episode with regards to the fishy sweater, because really, really clever. The next channel that I wanted to flag for everybody is Jeff from Losing My Knit, and I adore this man, and it makes me so mad that we live in entirely different countries, because if he wasn't across the Atlantic, I would have by now said we need to go out for a coffee. I love his presentation style. I love when he's silly. I love that he trips over his words as much as I do, but in just the best way. And his subjects, his topics are interesting as well. So he's done a number of videos. Go and check him out. I love also seeing guys knit. I think more guys should knit. There's a chap that I follow on Instagram called The Veteran Knitter, and he's also really great to watch. He's not on YouTube, but he probably should be. And I love how he absolutely challenges, you know, sort of any stereotypes people might have about knitting. But I think the more guys that we see knitting on the regular and producing content, the better, as far as I'm concerned, because it's such a skill, and I don't know why the stereotype is for it always to be, you know, sort of grandma sitting there knitting. You know, yes, we will be, and I will be that grandma sitting there knitting one day, but we all start at some point in our life. I don't see why, you know, it's great that we see, you know, younger YouTubers as well, and younger people picking up the craft. I thought that when I went to the Summer Wool Festival, I was thrilled with how many younger people were there excuse me, either getting into it through crocheting or through needle felting or whatever it might be. I love to see that. But what I would really love to see more of is more guys, because why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they? So yeah, Jeff from Losing My Knit, great podcast. So go and check him out. And then my last one, and this woman has stolen my heart, but it's Curly Top Makes, and she gave me a shout out on her channel, actually, on her last video, which was just adorable. But I'm just loving watching her grow in terms of her creating video content. Like, she's clearly very, very skilled when it comes to the craft itself, whether that be knitting or crochet. But she's decided that she's going to, you know, sort of start her own channel and put her own videos out to showcase that, same as we all do. But she's coming from a place where she, you know, she's never had to use a computer for probably anything other than browsing the internet. So she's learning as she goes, putting these videos together, and she is just doing it brilliantly. And her content is just a ray of sunshine. Her natural character is just, you know, sort of just lovely to sit and listen to, and she deserves more viewers to show her that what she's putting out there is worth the time and effort that it takes, because it does take a fair old bit to get these videos put together. And I work with computers day in, day out, so you know, if that's never been your forte, if that's never been what you've done from a work perspective, you know, that's a big ask to learn to do all that sort of stuff. And I know she's got support in terms of her other half putting those videos together, but she's just doing a cracking job. And yeah, go and check her out. She's just really fun to watch and see what she's doing and what she's making up. And yeah, just go and check her out. Curly Top Makes. So those are my YouTube recommendations for people that you may not have stumbled across yet. Yeah, I've got a plan for my next video, which will be around my autumn 25 knitting plans. So that will be coming out at some point soon. But other than that, I think I've covered everything now, and it feels like it's going to be a really long episode. But hopefully I'll be able to edit it down to something more manageable. But thank you so much for spending the time with me today. I know that's, you know, everybody's time is precious, isn't it? So the fact that you've chosen, especially if you've got this far, to spend it with me, I really appreciate. And I look forward to doing another one of these videos and getting out to you soon. But I shall say goodbye for now, and as they say round here, ta-ra a bit.